Welcome to THRIVEcast, a production of the Flint Center for Educational Excellence. My name is Dawn Hibbard, and I will be your host. Our topic today is how we, as parents and caregivers, go from individual to systems level advocacy for children with special education needs. I have with me Sharice McLean, Director of the Flint Parent Collaborative, and Parent Collaborative members Lakeisha Gates, William Stegall, Ladell Lewis, and Jaquez Hill. Now, Sharice, the Flint Parent Collaborative operates on the premise that parents know their children best and should be viewed as valued partners in educational decision making. What does this partnership look like?
It looks like the number one stakeholders actually having a seat at the table with decision making. Just because of what you already stated, they know their children best. And with that being said, it should be where decisions are not made without them.
So, Lakeisha, I want to start with you. What does systems level advocacy mean to you, and how have you seen it show up in your child's school experience?
Looking beyond one's child's situation, so beyond my child's situation to broader, I've seen it show up through communication, attendance.
Have the school systems, the school that your child goes to, in your advocacy for your child, have you seen what you have done individually benefit other people's children? Has the school changed how it's done some things?
Well, I think change takes time. So fortunately, I have not reached that point, but there's making strides. So, and this is to start the conversation. So as Ms. Cherie said, having a seat at that table, it's broader than just my issue. So once other parents feel comfortable to open up that line of communication and start confronting the problem and seeing that they're not alone and realizing that there are other people that can help them advocate and ways to go about it, attending meetings, it's a larger, broader system than what it entails, and sometimes that could be intimidating and it could be taxing. So I think once a bigger conversation is had and more people feel comfortable with starting that conversation, we'll see more results on a broader scale.
Liddell, what challenges have you noticed across the school system that you think parents should be working together to address?
Well, going back to what Miss Sharice says, from just having a seat at the table, you cannot do anything for us without us. And I will repeat that again. You can't do anything for me without me. So as a parent, I need to be included in these conversations. And I also need to be offered a seat at the table. I noticed that systematically, people have been hand selected to be on boards if they're told. So, but we need an opportunity in an equitable manner to have all parents, informed about the board so they can make the decision if they, want to opt in or opt out. And so that has been one of the challenges that I have witnessed.
How have you personally approached the school system that your child attends to get more involved or to get someone to listen to you?
Well, I went through all levels. So I start with the teacher. And then when I didn't get much progress from the teacher, I go directly to the principal. And unfortunately, at my child's school, he's in the sixth grade, and they switched principals like 7 times since he's been there. So the administration has been a little unstable. But it appears that every administrator that they were willing to work, but you need more than that year, to get acclimated. So by the time we get a good relationship, they're out the door and someone else is filling their spot. So I start there. Then I also reach out personally to the school board and as well as the superintendent. So I go up the chain of command.
And I think we've heard that before from the board chair, the Flint Community School board chair. Um, William, how do you think parents can move from advocating for an individual concern to influencing even up to a state policy in education?
Well, unfortunately, sometimes when you just come in individually, a lot of times you can just get swept under the rug or, disregard it. But when you advocate for the children as a whole and maybe get some of the other parents team up with you to advocate for all kids instead of just your, your particular situation. It seems it's more effective because you have more people on board because you're advocating for a bigger group, and usually a bigger group you can't ignore.
You were part of the legislative forum that the Flint Parent Collaborative sponsored, and I believe you were impressed with the fact that we had some actual legislators show up. What was your main takeaway from that conversation?
Well, my main takeaway from that was that we see now that we have the legislators, that will actually listen. So I think where we go from there is the parents actually get together and actually advocate as a group. That now that we have their ear, we can't have just one parent try to advocate to a whole legislation. So that, like I said, that bigger group usually brings about more action.
Coming as a voting bloc.
Yeah.
Now, Jaquez, what advice would you give another parent who wants to get more involved in advocating for systems level change?
My advice to another parent or just all parents would be just stay involved, ask questions. Asking questions is probably one of the most biggest things you can do. Be concerned, be an advocate for not just your district, your child, and yourself. And trust your instincts. If you feel that something isn't being taken care of with your child, trust your instincts. Trust that chain of command. Ask questions with the teacher, go to the principal, and with those two entities, they will be able to find answers for you. More advice, I would also say just learn your child's rights and do not be afraid of speaking up during these meetings because when we don't speak up, that is when we can't educate others. My concerns is different from somebody else's concerns. So if I don't speak up, how can they know or how can they get help in those areas that they may be like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a great point. So nothing is a dumb question. Just always be aware and just ask those questions. Ask when the meetings are. Show up to those meetings. Just be an advocate for your child. More advice I would say is with that advocacy could be like advocating for your child can be very exhausting. Nothing happens overnight. So trust the process, but still have faith in the process. Don't just give up, even though it's exhausting, even though it's irritating, it's frustrating because we all want the best for our child. We all want the best for our district. So with that process, don't give up on yourself.
So you're obviously all wearing the same shirt. um, what has what do you see as one of the biggest benefits of being involved in the Flint Parent Collaborative?
Having your voice heard, being able to communicate what you feel on a broader scale. Because before it's kind of like you were alone, but now you have someone else who has that understanding. So you're not leaning to your own understanding. You have someone who has those same concerns. And then those people have connections, and those connections help. Like Quest said, like staying involved with advocating, one of the biggest things is feel seen. Like I feel seen, I feel heard. So I don't walk away like nothing's gonna happen. I walk away like, now we're gonna create some traction, Miss Cherise. Now we're gonna light a fire under their butt. Like now we finna generate some things. Now it's a bigger picture. Now it's a conversation. It's not back and forth jargon. It's not banter, right? There's gonna be some things come out of this. So that's the biggest feeling. It's a weight lifted off with everything that happens in life and life and just having one less concern about carrying the weight of the world on your shoulder, because you do want the best for your child, and that's heavy to carry in its own. So I love being a part of it.
So understanding that there are power numbers, like Will said, the collaborative allows a safe place for the numbers to gather. Because a lot of people, they wonder, where can we start? The Flint Collaborative says, start here. And Miss Cherise, what I really appreciate about her leadership is it's not biased any way. towards any school or anything. She's all about families and children and what's best. And having someone supporting parents that are involved and want to be involved, I mean, that's a gold mine. So it's definitely a treasure to be a part of.
Absolutely.
Well, it's just whenever you have a group of like-minded people, with a common goal, you just simply make more progress. And that's what the collaborative is. You have a group of people, with the common goal that come up with the idea to move forward on certain things, and you just move more progressively like that instead of just alone.
I love the group because it's helped as a collaborative, like the name states. It doesn't just focus mainly on your child. It it has like-minded individuals who we all care about our child, but we also understand at the end of the day this affects and benefits others as well. So it shows the selflessness and how we also care about others and just not our child as well.
That's amazing. Power in numbers.
Absolutely.
Did you want to add anything?
No, don't want to cry. No, I am really moved, really, really touched. So yeah, I do have to really hold back my tears. But it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure working with the parents. I can't even look at them right now, in a good way. Uh, it's a lot of work. It's much to be done. We have a ways to go, and with that, what I mean is this. Getting parents and caregivers together to advocate, it can be very taxing. And in some cases, it can even be discouraging when you look across or look throughout the room and you see empty seats, so many empty seats. But outside of that, when we're not meeting or when we're not at an event, you get the phone calls, you hear the frustrations, and even at your own school, from parent to parent, you hear, how they really want things to be better or what can improve. And so I would just say this, keep doing what you're doing because somebody's need to be able to really stick and stay and stand in that gap. So other parents can say, okay, I was hesitant with joining the Flint Parent Collaborative. I was hesitant with just speaking up in my own school, but now I see William, I see Lakeisha, I see Liddell, I see Jaquez, and if they can do it, they have the courage to do it. We can too.
I just thought of another question. Liddell and William were at the meeting last night with the Flint Community Schools listening session for special education. And even at the legislative forum that was sponsored by the Flint Parent Collaborative, I was hearing from educators and some legislators, but last night we also heard from some more people in education. And I believe that they feel somehow handcuffed by not being able to do more, because I was hearing in both cases the people who work in education talk about the limitations because of staffing or budgeting or legislation. And I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on what kind of issues could the Flint Parent Collaborative take on to make it so that as a society we shift and give our schools the resources that they need.
Oh, that's a tall glass right there. But let's start with finance and education. Let's start with that. I think if the parents had a intel about the finance of how the education was being ran, they have a better understanding. From me, the outside looking in, it's like lottery winnings. It's trickled down to the school. Each child is allotted so much. They want the child in school, but where is this money allocated to? Then it goes to the teachers themselves are buying supplies and things like that. My kid come home with a packet and that's it for the week. There's no books. There's no other accessories accompanying that. It's a tablet. Okay, so if this is what we reduce to, then where is the money? How is this being funded? What does that look like? I myself would like to know. So if it's coming down to maybe they can have open sessions with the school districts to have the parents or caregivers to see what that looks like. where is the money going? How is the money allocated? If we do need more teachers, what does that look like for the teachers? What is the qualifications? Because some of the teachers that are retired, they won't bring back in. Some of the teachers that are in are not meeting the qualifications, like period. Some of the teachers have rank and they should be with older kids like 6th grade and they're teaching kindergarten. And then meeting their needs, meet the kids where they're at. So I will be all for that myself, and I would like to know also the tall order.
I want to let Will answer the next part.
Okay. Now, for one, with the type of funding that is allocated for the school, I understand people's frustration because, the school should be held accountable for that. But I like to look at it from all different perspectives. I'm not from Michigan, so I'm just looking at everything objectively. I noticed that city of Flint was, ravaged by a crisis, which caused a lot of different cognitive disorders. So you have to understand also that the Flint community school system got, an elevated amount of cases. So the staffing that, the staffing that they did have was basically what they had, and it was kind of like an overload, but not in any way trying to take, the responsibility off him because I had a serious struggle, as far as that when I moved here. But I just think it's communication. We have to look at all different perspectives and everybody take accountability for what's going on. But like I said, with the amount of funding that they take in, I think they may need to look at how that's being used.
Well, that goes back to what I'm led with. You can't do anything for us without us. So we need to have these parent advisory councils, but we need to make sure that they are, staffed equitably. You need to hear our voices, and communication is paramount because if we don't know what we don't know, and you will be shocked, you don't know the intellectual capital that your parents possess if you do not tap into it. And so that's what we need to see happen. It was a little disheartening to see administration trying to, I guess, figure it out by themselves when there are so many parents out here with the expertise that could help guide them, that could offer suggestions. And so those things are important. So if we start with great communication, and then also just keep parents in the loop so they'll know, because even if we can't solve the situation, just knowing that we have identified it and we have our finger to the pulse on it, that makes parents feel a lot better instead of, you're just not calling me back, you're not answering any calls. And I understand you don't know what to say because you don't have a solution. Well, sometimes that's enough.
Absolutely.
Better than nothing.
Well, I think this has been a great conversation. We always have a great conversation when you bring your group in. I want to thank our panel of experts, our members of the Flint Parent Collaborative, for a great conversation about turning individual advocacy into system-level advocacy. You have been listening to THRIVEcast, the podcast program of the Flint Center for Educational Excellence.